Minor Disturbance Radio, episode 17, and as you may have seen in the sponsors there, that we have a brand new sponsor. The iWireless Center is now sponsoring Minor Disturbance Radio, and I welcome them aboard. God, I sounded like a real stuffy radio DJ
you did.
right there.
You did.
I hate that shit, man.
Yeah.
Let me say it different. Yo, check it out. iWireless is on board, yo. Check it.
For real.
You better chuck yourself.
Edit.
So I was noticing some real nice Quad City culture today when I was getting gas. I was standing there pumping gas, and all of a sudden I heard what sounded like maybe a sinking battleship pulling up, and so I look over and I notice there's a car that is trying to play some rap music with some really loud bass that the stereo can't quite hold the bass that's happening, and then license plates rattling,
or the car itself couldn't hold it.
Yeah. So the guy gets out and he looks like he's getting out of his own. He's in his own rap video. You know what I mean? So he opens the door and kind of, hat sideways.
Right. Got his jacket pulled out to the edge of his shoulders.
White shirt hanging down, pants around his knees, and I don't know where this trend came from, but I kind of like it. The Lucky Charms coat. Or Kellogg's. Have you seen this?
No.
Where people have breakfast cereal coats?
No.
Like the racing cereal?
They're like NASCAR jackets or whatever.
Yeah.
Really?
He's got his rap music cranked, you know what I mean? Because everybody wants to hear that. That's everybody's favorite jams, isn't it?
It is my favorite jam.
And so I kind of look over and I'm thinking, man, and I'm not being racist at all. The guy was black, but it could have been anybody. But, I'm thinking, what's that guy thinking of me?
Right.
Because here I am, this overweight 41-year-old gray streaked ponytail guy with glasses on, pumping gas into my 2008 Trailblazer,
right?
Cranking, 1152, car seats jamming in the back seat there. Open the door, a fucking apple cider fucking carton falls out.
Yeah, right, man.
Some princess stickers on the inside of my window, half peeled off, courtesy of my 3-year-old. Yeah. So I looked really cool to him, too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, basically, he looked at you like an enemy who had been vanquished by time alone. You know what I mean?
We didn't make we barely made any eye contact.
You made no eye contact.
Because when he was, when they're playing, he was playing his rap music, very loudly, and when they do that, they're waiting for somebody to give them the stink eye so that they can be like, "What you looking at, bitch?"
You know what I mean?
So you don't look at them,
No, there's a video that's trending right now of a situation like that. Oddly enough, at a gas station. Where a few gentlemen of differing cultural backgrounds had a fight over this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was,
What do you do? The one guy say, turn it down?
No,
or something like that?
I think we kind of came into the fight a little bit late. They were already, they were already engaging each other, at least verbally. But I think it was a similar situation.
And by no means am I trying to sound like a racist or something like that. But look, when you notice certain people, no matter what color they are, doing certain cultural things, it's just so, you're that guy.
Sure.
It's a stamp. Boom. I'm the guy with the baggy pants and the white T-shirt and the hat crooked, giving you the stink eye while I'm cranking my rap music too loud. And knowing that I'm annoying everybody.
Well, I mean, if at least as far as that subject is concerned, even super hard punkers or guys that are just uber metal. Bikers. Like a biker rolls up, you know what I mean? That patch 1%er and all that stuff. Right,
and you're like, I don't know, man. I don't want to find myself in a ditch. You know?
But I mean, I just almost kind of have to have this attitude well, I would never do it, but if that's what you want, honey, just go. Go do your thing.
What's ironic about it? So after he pumped his $2 in gas and quarters, he went out back to his car. The car was worth probably about $300, but the rims were like $2,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is always that.
$2,000 rims, right. $35 stereo, and
If you want to look like you have money, you could always just buy an expensive car.
Right. So turn back the clock. Was that you?
Yeah, right.
15 years ago, getting out cranking up some metal?
Who, me?
Yeah. Was that ever you?
No, I still do that now. I find this very fun to do, and I ran into. I'm gonna stumble on my words because I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was at a gig, got done playing the gig, got a new fan that likes Dive Bomb, and he was talking to me afterwards. This guy's probably about 22.
Ah,
Okay,
youngin'.
And
Wow.
he loves 80s hair metal. Okay,
Whoa.
loves it, knows all of it. He's testing me. I'm like, you really like this shit, or are you just out looking for pussy? I mean,
Yeah, right.
because if you're looking for pussy, you're in the wrong fucking gig. Because
Maybe he's into old ladies.
what are you trying to say, man?
I'm not saying.
I didn't say that.
I'm not saying that that you're with an old lady, but I am saying that definitely the ladies that are into hair metal are finding themselves in a higher age group.
Or
now.
possibly out with their mothers.
Yeah, that could be.
Anyway, so this guy's talking to me, and he's telling me how much he loves this stuff, and I can't believe it. And he goes, "Oh, I love it, man. I love pulling up to the gas station, cranking, like docking and shit." And I'm like, "Whoa, my God, this guy's never gonna get laid." You know what I mean?
Right.
No, but he's actually a really cool kid. And if I was him and I looked like him and I was young again, fuck, I don't care.
Yeah.
But nowadays, even at stop signs, you know how you're driving and you're like, run to the head.
Right,
And then you
right.
notice you stop, you just kind of go, start. This is my favorite part coming up, and I can't sing it because the
Right.
people next to me, you're going to be able to
looking.
see me.
Yeah.
I like them motherfuckers that don't give a shit.
Oh, yeah.
You ever see them? They're drumming on the steering wheel,
Yep,
they're banging their head, they're like, you know
They
what I
might
mean?
even make eye contact with
They
you.
don't
just be
even
like,
care. They
Yep.
don't even care. And
Yep.
I'm like, I wish I could be that guy. You know?
You feel like you're on the dance floor dancing by yourself. It's a little bit unnerving,
So anyway, I don't even know why I use that for my opener. Welcome to Minor Disturbance Radio. We have a guest with us today from The Last Glimpse, another one of the very prolific original bands here in the Quad Cities. Steve Krug is with us, and he's going to sit in on the debauchery.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
How does it feel to like be in the big time now?
Finally,
The big time?
Finally be here.
It's amazing.
He's
No,
kind
I-
of speechless, I think.
You know,
I got you some Hy-Vee water in front of you. That's how you know
Well,
you've
I mean,
made it, buddy.
at least it's not Walmart water, so that is a step
And
up for me.
it's actually refilled.
These have all been opened.
It's tap water.
Right on.
It's arguable it was tap water in the first place.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But I was contacted by you guys, The Last Glimpse, because you have a new release on the way, Ashes. Is it out yet?
Well, it's streaming now on our Bandcamp site, music.thelastglimpse.com, and then you can pre-order it, and it'll actually officially release next Friday, and we'll have physical copies of it, and also it'll be available digitally everywhere.
Is this your first record, or is it the second?
This is our third EP.
Oh, EP. So
yeah.
explain to me what the fucking EP is. Extended
technically
play?
extended play single is what it is.
See, because
okay.
I don't understand it. An
Yeah.
extended play used to be like a full-length record, right?
No, that's a long play. That's an
That's a
LP.
long-
That doesn't
play.
make sense. Extended play means it's extended. It's got more
single,
shit.
There's a single, there's an extended play, and there's a long play. A lot of EPs, a lot of extended plays were 7-inch, which is a kind of weird halfway point. They would do, a lot of bands coming up would do split 7 inches, where they'd press a record where one side was 2 or 3 songs from one band and the other side was 2 or 3 songs from another band. And you would
Weird.
have EPs.
Wow, I
That's
didn't know
right.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
That's a way to go,
Yeah.
So your EP, so you have 3 EPs, which
Right. There's
which,
4 songs on each one.
Okay, so you have 12 songs,
Right. It's basically.
right?
Yeah.
I went to Rocky, so I mean I can add pretty quick.
I did too.
Nailed
So.
You might be quite impressed with my ability to add numbers
Yeah,
that quickly.
no,
You watch a lot of public television, man. Really.
We kind of did it as a way to continually have new music available for people. It's not our regular job, unfortunately. We all have day jobs, so as nice as it would be to go into the studio and do like a full album, which we'd love to do, and maybe someday we'll get to do. For now, this is a way that we can, focus on like the next. We ended up writing 6 songs for this, and then pared it down to 4. We recorded 6, and we'll, we talked about releasing the other 2 down the road, but this way we can keep getting new music out there for people to hear. Rather than spending a year recording an album and then by the time you're done recording it and mixing and everything else, you hate it, or I don't want to say hate it, but you're sick of it, and you're already on to new things, and this way you're on the new thing all the time, you know.
Trust me, I understand that, the hate it part, because by the time I've put out my first LP, is that a long play?
That's a long play.
It was like 8 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
an LP, that's gonna be more than that.
Okay, well,
It depends on how
MP.
long.
How about a middle play?
All right.
Yeah.
Depends on how long
An
the
MP?
songs are, you know.
Yeah.
Or an ELP, which is Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Well,
Right.
for everybody that's playing the drinking game while they listen to this, back in the day,
There it is.
you had to have at least
Here we go.
you had to have at least eight tunes on your record, right?
Right.
At least, because I remember I was like, shit, I got to narrow, I got to get 8 songs on here, or else it's not considered. You couldn't put out a record of 2 songs. I guess you could,
A
but
single, yeah.
Well, that's a single.
you wouldn't call it a record then.
But you got an A side and a B side.
Right. We weren't putting out. We were trying to put out records like Kiss did. Like here's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fucking record. Right. Here's our record.
Well, we always say album. That's an album.
Yeah.
If it's a long play, we'd say album. Now, if it's a single, there are a good number of people who refer to that as a record. They will refer to one song as a record, even though obviously records are out. A lot of people will still say, "Oh yeah, man, we recorded that record," blah blah blah. And even though they're talking about one song, they still might call it a record. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just it depends on who you are and who you're talking to. I don't know if there are any hard fast rules about what things
I've definitely
are
heard
called
that a
way.
lot, and I've never been one to call one song a record, so
Right.
it always throws me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but there are a lot of people who say it that way.
But I completely understand what you're talking about as far as by the time the record's out, you don't even want to listen to it probably anymore because
Right.
you've heard it a gazillion times. Because I know for me, I did all the, even when I was writing the songs at my mom's basement. That's way back in the day. That's because my girlfriend kicked me out, and she decided to come home one night and tell me that she's fucking somebody else. So I had to move back home when I was 20.
Ish.
Something. Yeah, 2.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm in my mom's basement pouring it all out. How do I begin? Singing ballads and shit and recording all these things. And by the time I actually even got to the studio and had the songs done, I was tired of them.
Yeah.
And then to get in the studio and then to have to sit and listen. So I did all the pre-production, and then by the time we hit the studio, by the time we were done with the studio, by the time I was listening to it in somebody's car, I was ready to throw it out the window.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean,
But even at that, the sort of professional recording of it, and mixing and things like that, you weren't doing that yourself, which I think you guys are,
Yeah, we're pretty much doing it all ourselves, and
which makes it even worse.
it does. It does.
It's even worse.
It does. We've done everything but the mixing, which we've had Jose from 3 Years Hollows.
Right.
He did all the mixing of all 3 EPs, but otherwise we did it all ourselves, and yeah, it gets tiring.
So
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a
so
lot of
this was recorded at Real Tracks then.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Because I always got to give the plug to the sponsors.
Yeah, right on.
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
But-
Yeah, it's a great place to record.
But you don't you use the room, but you don't use Rob's rig though. You use Jeff's rig, don't
right,
you?
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which Jeff has his own recording. When speaking of Jeff Loader, for the people out there, who's the guitar player and second singer in the band, and
Who was supposed to be here?
yeah,
by
who was
the way.
supposed to be here, and then canceled with our guest, but did not cancel with us. So Jeff Loader, you got problems.
I think when I asked you where's Loader? He's like, well, he had better things to do. I think it was something.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I heard.
Something better came up. Like
yeah. I don't know if the term "better" was in there, but man,
It might
really
as well
should've been.
be.
It should have been.
He's
It
probably
should've been.
wee bowling or something. I don't know.
Probably is.
Got to bust his chops a little
But
bit.
no, you know what though? I'm not gonna bust the chops on that because actually, Wii bowling sounds pretty good. I would.
Wow.
I would.
you
Wii
guys
bowl.
want to just stop right now? And go play Wii bowling?
Brian balls a strike every time, man.
Yeah.
Dick.
So
Yeah.
how long have you guys been together then?
It's going on almost 4 years, I think. We were thinking about this the other day.
Yeah. Well, our bands got together right about the same time
Yeah.
because we have the same drummer.
We have the same drummer. Yeah,
That's right.
So
That's right. But
Just-
me and we're gonna arm wrestle later for pinks on the drummer. But Dave Hughes is the drummer.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he's a terrific drummer.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
And so easy to work with, and that's a rare thing in drummers. No offense to drummers. but-
Yeah. No, every offense to drummers. I was gonna go with every offense.
So he asked you when I like to say 4 sentences halfway through before I actually say a sentence sometimes.
Right on. Right on.
Because I'm not a radio DJ.
Shit.
You know what I mean? I'm not Dwyer or Michaels. They're awesome. They know what they're doing. I'm just a butthole that decided I wanted to talk to fellow musicians in the Midwest and talk shit. So he asked you how long you've been together. And did you answer that?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was
about 4 years.
I was thinking about how I was going to edit out the whole beginning of this episode.
You're like, man, have you listened to that racist shit that they got going on in fucking Minor
It's not
Disturbance?
racist, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's touchy.
Yeah.
It's touchy.
Well, it's culture, man. How could I be considered a racist for noticing something with my eyes that's
All you have
obviously a cliche?
all you have to do to be a racist is have somebody who is offended by you call you one. That's
Okay.
it. That's the only
Well,
requirement.
I'm not a racist, but, I do live in the Quad Cities.
We'll let the people who care decide that question.
Okay. All right.
They're gonna
Well,
be the ones.
well, I've got white people stereotypes too. I mean, you can't help it,
No, and honestly, I mean, the thing that sucks and the thing that's difficult about it, and it's a very touchy thing, politically speaking, but the fact is that for the most part, these stereotypes exist for a reason. They didn't come from nowhere. Now, when you try to apply them, and say that, this is the way everybody is who, has this other trait, whether it's skin color or, sexual orientation or, you name it, that as soon as you try to paint with a broad brush like that, obviously you're doing something that's not making any sense. But it's not like the stereotypes come from nowhere, though.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
humans are unique in the fact that they learn. So if 5 times you put your hand in the cage and get bit, you'd be dumb to assume that the 6th time you wouldn't.
Yeah, but what if there's something in that cage with the animal that you really want? so it keeps weighing on your conscience, and you keep thinking to yourself, "Man, okay, maybe if I go really fast, then I'll be able to."
So what you're saying? I should have said, "What's up?" and then went back to pumping my gas.
Yeah, pretty much, man. You got to be an ass covering. Mode at this point.
Thing is, that guy could have been. It could have been completely like he said, "What's up, dude?" And like been cool and like, "What's up with this fucking weather, yo?" You know what I mean? It might have been like that.
Because that's the way people talk about the weather.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he did. I don't know. You know what happens to me? I immediately start talking in Ebonics when I get around some of my black friends.
Is that really what it?
Well, because they can turn it on when they want to, and they can turn it off too.
Absolutely.
And then I find myself, yeah, I get it, man. By the time I'm done talking to them for 10 minutes, I start, doing. I'm like, what am I doing? And my wife's like, Brian, stop it. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a chameleon. Just be how you are. Oh, how are you doing today? I get like that at Chinese restaurants.
I've got a couple black friends that have variously called me out on it and been like, "Okay, Travis, don't do that."
Just
I'm
stop.
like, "What? For real?" I'm like, "Don't say for real.
Not like that.
Just don't say it.
You cannot copy it.
You cannot copy it."
I know. It sucks.
You ever been
I feel
around
bad.
somebody who's like really who pours it on that way, but they're really bad at it? Like you just know that they're just really missing the mark. Like they just whatever they think about the way these cultural, kind of aphorisms work, they just don't have it down. They haven't figured it out. So they're sitting there trying to talk to these people that are not like them, and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, no. Just don't."
Is this a bad comedy sketch or what?
Yes, just don't, man. You can see the look on their face. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I got it.
So anyway.
So I'm older now. I'm 41 now, so I don't get the whole culture of the younger kids, and that's basically what it is. It's a younger kid.
I think that's what it
and
is.
it's
more than
not a
anything.
black or white thing. There's white kids doing that.
Absolutely.
There's
white kids doing other things you don't understand.
right.
You know
well,
what I mean?
and then on the other side, you see the kids with the gauged ears.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw a kid with a gauged cheek.
No.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah,
opened up,
I've
pulled
seen
the
that.
thing out and stuck his tongue out the bottom of the thing.
I saw
Oh,
there
my
was
God.
a picture going around with a couple that had a gauge here, and they were kissing each other's tongues
No.
through the bottom of underneath their lip instead of
Yeah.
Is it
Like-
weird that I just got a boner? Because I'm really thinking of the implications of having extra holes in the face.
Yeah, there is that. But is it weird that I just got a boner?
Do we have boners now?
Yeah, I think so.
It's weird that you got one when you made eye contact with him. That was a little weird.
And your point is?
I don't have a point. I don't have a point. So, Steve, let me ask you, what's the end game for The Last Glimpse? Are you guys shopping your music? Are you looking to get famous? Or are you just enjoying doing music locally and seeing how far you go that way?
Well, getting famous, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I know that's never been my goal. Really, to me, if I could make what I make at my job, playing music instead.
If you look at the kind of the monetization of music right now, making probably what you make at your job, if you did that making music, you would be famous.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? You would
Sadly,
be famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Well, first of all, we don't know how much he makes.
well, not enough, not nearly enough.
Yeah.
Well, you did pull up in a Lexus.
Oh, I
He
did.
didn't
I
he?
did. News to me. I didn't know that a Ford Fusion is now a Lexus.
That's now a Lexus, man. and he was drinking Cristal champagne or Hy-Vee water. I couldn't
Hy-Vee
tell.
water,
It was
yeah, or
one of
Hy-Vee
the two.
water.
And like 4 bikini bitches crawled out first.
That's right.
And then he just said, "Wait here, hose." And I was like, "Is that our guy coming?"
Is that our guy?
Yeah. I had to brush my
Anyway.
shoulders off.
Yeah.
I'm just planning your next video.
Oh,
I know,
right on.
I know that you guys said that you'll do your own video, but I'll do one that's even worse.
Awesome. Awesome.
That was not where I was expecting you to go with that.
Even worse.
Yeah,
Great.
this would be way worse than anything you guys are going to do to yourselves.
But yeah, I mean, ideally, sure, we'd like to be able to, do it for a living, but we're trying to at least make it regional. That was kind of always the goal. Like, we've, especially early on in the first year, we played quite a bit out of town, and then realized that at that point, trying to do that with no fan base is pretty expensive and
Yeah.
pointless.
Out of town where? How far?
Chicago,
Been
and
there. I absolutely know what you're talking about.
like at least within 3 hours.
Okay.
No, not really any further than that. But
Couldn't wait to get back and play Ribco again.
yeah, basically,
Yeah.
it's like it's fun, but you're just like, man.
It's getting them claws in out of town.
Yeah.
It's getting and with the way that technology is now, it shouldn't be that tough. But let me just say, it's hard to get anybody to pay attention to original music. It really is. It's hard to get anybody to pay attention to anything that's local,
Right.
especially.
Right.
I mean,
for
look,
sure.
look at Minor Disturbance Radio. I mean, I've had to fight tooth and nail to get 600 likes on our Facebook page because it's a local podcast, and so unless Howard Stern's sitting here or somebody that they
Sure.
can immediately
Someone's got some
identify
drop.
with, they're like, oh, it's just a local guy. There's no, but it's hard to do that. But I have to say, it's starting to spread. It can happen. I mean, people recognize. I was at a big box store. I'm not going to say their name because they don't sponsor us, but big box store buying some extension cables tonight, and a guy walked up to me, and Brian, and it's like, yeah, and he goes, I love your show. It's awesome. And I was like, thanks, because you don't know what to fucking
No,
say.
exactly.
Because first of all, my hair was in a ponytail. I had my glasses on. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
standing there, probably a booger hanging out of my nose.
Right.
I just don't know what to say. I clam up. Do you do that when people? Do you
Me?
get that?
No,
Yeah.
see, I don't clam up though. I just don't. I mean, that's just not
No,
my way
I
of-
definitely do. I mean, I'm
Hey, you're that guy from Last Glimpse,
right. I mean, I'm actually, the thing that people always, I don't know, surprised by me being a front man and having been a front man for most of my career, like that I'm painfully shy.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing very well so far, I have to say.
I'm trying,
doing very
But
well.
yeah, I mean, I'm a super shy guy, and I tend other than when I'm on stage, that's where I feel the most comfortable,
Right.
And then after that, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. Gonna go hide over here now,
Wow.
Sure.
And let
Don't look at me.
yeah,
No, that makes sense though.
and let kind of let the other guys talk, and it can be a curse sometimes because then people can take that as arrogance, like, well, he didn't even want to talk to me. And like, well, no, it's not that at all. I just
No, see, I know it's not arrogance because I'm arrogant, and I don't get that from you.
No, you don't get that vibe.
No,
Some people
'cause-
take it that way though.
You know,
Yeah, they
Some
do.
people take it that way
do.
though.
when people say nice things to me nowadays, I react differently than what I did when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, I immediately did a Paul Stanley face. I was like, oh yeah, You know what I mean? I immediately
Right.
like, because I knew that was my only dose of that I was going to get in my life. I might as well act like Paul Stanley.
Right. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Oh, me? Yeah. Yeah. And then your voice gets like this a little bit. Tell me more about what you thought of our
you
first
get a
record.
little bit of a Brooklyn
You say
accent.
record different.
Record.
Great record.
Yeah, I'm glad you like the record.
Anyway, no, I don't see arrogance at all from you.
No, I don't
Yo.
get that either. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, in a certain way, being on stage and you know, letting your personality out, it's almost easier because there's a set of limitations that are set up. You know, there's a clear division between what your role is and what the role of the audience is, and it makes it easier to know how to behave because the limits are so much more apparent. Whereas in a, you know, one-on-one conversation with somebody, you know, that you just are talking to, it's hard to know what the limits are. You don't know what the establishment is between yourself and that person. You're standing there as peers and equals, but not necessarily like equals in skill or ability. That isn't it. But more like equals in pure possibility. You could be anything to each other at that point, and it's kind of maddening. Like you know, it's hard to know how to fit in. You know, who are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who am I? I don't know.
Well, when somebody recognizes you for something that isn't really 100% you all the time. I mean, like if you're an actor, say if you were Brad Pitt and somebody's like, they're going to know you for your movies that you did and the roles that you played. They're not
Right,
going to know the guy that farts a lot and, you know, wears Crocs around the house and, you know, doesn't shave for a month.
Right.
They don't know that guy. You know?
Right,
So,
true, yeah.
You know, they know me for what I've done in the past too, and that's another thing that kind of makes me sad because these people might. I'm thinking, what are they thinking right now? I was like, God, he really let himself go. You know, I remember he used to be pretty cool.
Yeah, Jesus, Farrah, you've really let yourself go. Shit, it's been downhill since the burning bed. What's wrong with you?
But I wanted to get to playing some of your music. So you gave me a track called Ashes.
Right on, yeah.
And is there anything that you want to say about the song, or is this your leading track?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's the title of the EP and it's the first song. I guess as a extended play single is supposed to be, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, and it's one that's it's really personal for me, and most of the stuff that I write lyrically is pretty personal. I'm not one of those that kind of draws from what's going on in society and and things like that. I mean, and sometimes I wish I was like, I really admire guys that are good storytellers, that and can make you almost think that it's about them and it isn't at all. It's just like, oh well, I ran into this guy the other day and then. And I got this idea to do this whole thing about blah 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 blah, and
Yeah, I can't do that either.
yeah, and I just can't. I definitely it's generally all internal type stuff, but yeah, this is one that one of the few, probably the only song that we wrote like in the studio, rather than having it already done, basically fleshed out and everything else, and then brought it in and recorded it.
Right.
So it's been interesting in for the first time having to then basically learn the song after the fact.
Yeah, weird.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Weird.
So for a while after we recorded it, we actually kind of had a little hard time kind of getting it right. You know?
Yeah.
Just getting the right vibe with it, and and especially, I mean, we try to record stuff as close as possible to how we do perform it, so that it doesn't sound super weird.
Right.
There's not a ton of overdubs or anything like that, or keys when we don't have a keyboard player,
Right.
and things of that nature. But it still was a bit different to decide, well, who's going to do what, and the harmonies and stuff like that. And but overall, I mean, I'm really proud of it. It turned out really well, and it's different from what a lot of people are doing around here, which is never the intention, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is
absolutely,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
did
nice.
notice that a lot of when original bands spring up, they're generally going to be very heavy.
Yeah,
Do you notice that?
this is a very heavy overall, you have a little bit of indie and punk, but for the most part it's a very metal centric area.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally cool with. I mean, I mean, obviously, playing in Cronus Resistor too is
Yeah, right.
quite heavy. So,
Right. Which that's Billy Gardner's band. If the members of the MDR community are not familiar with Billy Gardner, he's a guitar instructor over at QC Rock Academy. And
unbelievable.
I actually started playing guitar with him when we were both 12. We lived in adjacent trailer parks, and he's been my best friend pretty much my whole life. And he's a great guitar player, and he's always had his own strong vision about the way music should work. And Steve is playing bass with Cronus Resistor, Billy's band, which I think is really cool.
And Billy's
it's
also
really cool that you're close with like one of the people that I'm super close with. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah,
Right on,
Billy's
yeah.
also a really cool guy too. I mean, I've had
we
a few
love
laughs
Billy.
with him
Oh,
Yeah,
Billy's
he's
hilarious.
recently. They tune into at Music Go Round. They tune into MDR when the boss ain't looking.
Nice.
So
That's terrific.
Nice.
just for you guys.
So anyway, play the fucking
let's
song.
play
Jesus
the song.
Christ.
This is The Last Glimpse. It's Ashes. Let's get it.
Was there really ever a sliver of truth in your eyes? Farther and farther from that time in our lives. Keep going back here, reliving all your lies. Oh, all your lies.
So that was Ashes off the Last Glimpse new EP.
Extended play.
And man, you know what I noticed about that? I've listened to it several times by myself because that's the only way I can listen to music to get the real gist of what's going on with it. As soon as you sent me the track, I give everything a real consideration. I listen to it more than once so that way I can get what's going on. The hook is prevalent immediately. It's very cool. It's very moody.
Yeah.
It's very moody. I can see it. I can see it being like on the Real World or something when two people are fighting and then they go back. they go back to their rooms and and then that song kind of plays in the background and it shows them.
They got the boom shot of the pool.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, no, that'd be good, man. But actually, he and I, we're more like each other in that way than probably like either of us are like you in that way. Like to me, that's my favorite stuff, man. Is I like the stuff, if given the choice between listening to happy music and sad music, I will pick sad music every time. Every single time, dude.
Same here. It's weird. I thought I was alone in that.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now I thought like you would be more like listen to some hard rocker,
You might think that, but when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to like Nutshell by Alice in Chains. I mean that song it doesn't matter. I could be just won the lottery. I'm like, yeah, and it would be like, and that song comes on, you're like, oh man.
Man, everything does suck. It does.
Think all the taxes they're going to take out of this money.
It's not a true sad though. It's not a true sad.
No, it isn't.
It's a vacation sad, and a vacation sad is much better than a real sad.
So is that sad or just moody?
Well, maybe it is moody.
Yeah,
you know
I guess
what I mean?
so.
But I said happy and sad just because it seems like when you try to break down, like there's this idea that's out there, and I think is really a pretty smart idea, that there are actually only two flavors that you can taste: yum and yuck. You ever heard that before?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think that might have been Oscar Wilde that said that. But yeah, yum and yuck. And if you start to look at, there are things that people are attracted to and things that people are revolted by, and it really does make a lot of sense. And so happy and sad in music, as general states of music, they kind of make sense to me.
When dudes are walking down the street and they got their earbuds on or their Beats, the stupid Beats headphones, which I read a review on them. I'll get back, but I read a review on them and they were like the worst headphones you could buy.
They're terrible.
No, for audio fidelity, yeah.
And they're like what,
$300? Yeah. And just because it was Dr. Dre that put them out.
Well, they're heavy. And they have lots of bass.
I remember a time when the earbuds came out. I would joke with my wife. I'm like, I'm gonna go running with these headphones on, and she'd laugh. And you see that all the time. People are wearing like real headphones.
Totally.
It's like because these are so much better than earbuds. You're always trying to stuff them back in your ears.
Right.
Anyway, them guys that are wearing the earbuds and they're like running around Vanderveer Park or wherever they're at. That the music that they're hearing in their head, they totally think they're in a video.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because you know how music, all of a sudden, like, you look at people like, look at me, man. You know what I mean? Because, whatever music's going on in your head, it's just you. So you're in that moment and you feel that way. And then, I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
I can remember, I got off a bus. I was in a city called, well, not even a city, it's a town called Zweibrücken in Germany, and I'd gotten off a bus and I put in my earbuds and it started playing Destroy Erase Improve by Meshuggah, and I felt like the biggest badass in the world walking around down there, dude. Fucking just nothing but Swedish mathematical gent death metal.
Yeah. I used to work out to like Avenged Sevenfold and stuff like that.
Dude.
And then I'd freak myself out by just sneaking in on my player. I'd sneak in like Milli Vanilli or something. So I'd be right in the middle of a bench like,
yeah, girl, you know it's true.
Oh, motherfucker. No, you can't get to it to press the next. You're like, shit. You know what I mean? Like, I just did that to myself. You can't do bench presses. The girl, you know it's true.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yep. It costs you your set. It costs you the next rep, and it costs you your Grammy.
That's it. That's
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Speaking of fucking being in shape, how in the hell do you stay so skinny being 37? Have you not found?
I'm not as skinny as you think.
You haven't found the peanut butter jar in your cabinet?
Oh no, I'm fully familiar with the peanut butter jar.
So I've been dieting lately for the last close to 10 days or something. I was 230 pounds, and I decided, because my normal day would be like this: you wake up, you don't eat until like about 2 in the afternoon, and then you eat like a large combo from Rudy's, right? And then you veg, and you're like, I'm tired. So anyway, lately we've been doing protein shakes and smoothies and eating nothing but protein and vegetables, raw vegetables, and all these things. I wanted to give it a go.
Sure.
I was inspired by a friend of mine, Jerry Smith, who lost 20-some pounds in like 30 days doing this, and doesn't do a lick of exercise. And I'm not doing an ad right now. I'm just telling you.
But he just changed the way he ate.
Yeah, he just changed the way he ate. We used to go to band practice. When we were going to band practice, he'd stop at the 7-Eleven. We'd get snacks for the road, because say we had to drive to a band practice that's far away. And he'd get like a bag of Funyuns, bag of Doritos, a Frappuccino, one of them iced coffee things. You know what I mean? And I'm like... and I didn't think anything of it, but that's 8,000 calories right there. And then,
well, never mind your gut. Your breath is going to be awesome after those Funyuns and Doritos. The windows are fogging up. I don't know why that's happening, man. I got the defroster on. What's the problem?
It's the people with the horrible breath that never know they have horrible breath.
No, they never do, man.
Yeah, because, and I always get really embarrassed. It's really embarrassing. My wife's like, dude, your breath stinks, man. I'm like, shut up, man.
No, it doesn't.
No,
get all defensive.
Totally, man. Totally.
Because I drink coffee and so anyway, I was dieting and doing this thing and eating vegetables and that, and then I lost like a pound a day.
Whoa.
For the first 5 days.
Wow.
And then I went out and drank 6 Trooper beers.
That shit ain't gonna...
That's fun. I know I can always lose weight now, and then I went back to, I cannot, fuck it. I'm not giving up my peanut butter and jelly sandwich at night.
That's what it is, dude. That's what it is. It's the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's your bane, dude.
You have to still enjoy life. There's no sense in just, because what's better? I mean, you've got sex is great.
Okay.
Taking a dump is great. It's a great pleasure.
Yep.
And eating.
Yep.
Really, what else is there?
I don't know. I thought you were going to say, like, sex is great, taking a dump is great, and jelly is grape. I thought that's what you were going to say. I totally thought that's what you were going to say.
No, I've graduated to strawberry. You don't.
Strawberry is not.
I don't fuck around with the grape anymore.
Really,
grape
man?
is for kids, man. Grape is for kids.
That was all the way up until I was about 38, and then
strawberries.
Right. As soon as that was, you graduated. You graduated.
My wife snuck me one that was because she would ask me grape or strawberry, and I'm like, yep. And then she would bring me one of each, and I'd be like, grape. And then I'd bite into that strawberry, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been missing out on this.
Yeah.
This is the way to go.
See, now grape is a jelly, but a lot of times strawberries are preserves.
That's okay, whatever.
It's when you get older.
It's good ass red shit. That's all I know. So
that's fucked up.
So anyway, I wanted to promote something real quick while we have a break here. The iWireless Center, obviously, I told you they're a sponsor of Minor Disturbance Radio now, and they're going to be having the Rock Fest on July 19th, and that's going to be the headliner is going to be Firehouse and Night Ranger, and they're also going to have a 97X Exposure Battle of the Bands winner.
Now, I don't know if you said that right. Is it 97X Exposure or is it 97 Exposure?
I'm pretty sure I fucked it up.
Okay,
but
good job.
You know what it is. It's a battle of the bands where the winner is going to play outside. Along with a couple other good bands, the Hooks and 1152 are playing outside, and then once that's done, then you come inside, and Dive Bomb, my band, is going to play first inside, and then Cheap Thrill, and then Firehouse, and then Night Ranger. So it's going to be a fun-filled day. Barbecue, beer, all that shit. It's a good time. As a matter of fact, I got some tickets that I've been giving away. We're going to give them away somehow. I'm not going to do it on the show. I'm going to wait until the podcast is out and then make people have to fucking watch it to win.
Right.
There you go.
Ask him some obscure trivia question about how many times Steve stroked his beard or something.
Oh, by the way,
you know what I mean?
Congratulations, Mystic Melody. She won the first set.
That's right.
Congratulations.
She answered the question really quickly.
Yeah, well, Mystic Melody, she's an ardent soul. I mean, she really stays on top of these matters. She's been a friend of mine on Facebook for a while. So
cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I didn't want to be too obscure. I didn't want to have you have to watch a 2-hour-long podcast and then answer a specific question.
No, man, you got to use the dairy case effect, man. Everybody that goes to the grocery store, they're going there to get milk. So you don't put the milk in the front of the store, dummy. You put it all the way in the fucking back, man.
That's true.
You got to be practical about this shit, Brian.
Yeah.
Night Ranger, man.
Yeah.
Night Ranger. Who is playing guitar in Night Ranger? Is Brad Gillis still in the band? But Jeff Watson is not in the band.
He is out.
No shit, man. No more 8-finger tapping in the solo for Rockin' the USA or Rockin' America.
Don't Tell Me You Love Me.
Don't Tell Me You Love Me. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, Yeah, that was badass, man. What
Well,
happened?
you're talking about original members in bands that are iconic like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And I've kind of at the end of my rope with this shit because my favorite stuff was the 80s hair metal, and there's hardly any 80s hair metal bands that are left that still have the original members in it. Right. Skid Row's gone. If you go see Skid Row, you're going to see two of the guys that used, the bass player and the guitar player, and a bunch of new guys.
Right.
Without Sebastian Bach. And then, if you go to see Great White, you're not going to
There's two Great Whites.
Yeah, I don't know which one's which.
Right.
You don't know what Warrant. Obviously, Janie Lane's dead. So the voice, to me, if the voice is gone in the band is over.
Yeah.
To me. And people give me shit about that, but
I don't know because I don't know if you've seen Journey with the little dude that's singing for him.
See,
he sounds more like Steve Perry than fucking Steve Perry, man.
I've said this before. I know people
amazing.
can emulate the person, but if it were Steve Perry, wouldn't it be just that much more magical, though?
Of course it would be, but you got to live in the reality.
Even if he couldn't sing as he did, you'd still rather see Steve Perry.
You might, but
I think I would.
See, and I think initially I would rather see Steve Perry, but at the same time, I would want to hear good renditions of the songs.
Right.
If I go to see Journey and Steve Perry singing and he can't bring it, and now all the songs that I love are now messed up.
Okay, well then that brings me to
Yeah,
my next subject.
You have a point.
One of my favorite bands in the world, Kiss, obviously. I was reading in Paul Stanley's book, and this has been public for a while, and Gene's talked about it, and Paul's talked about it. I think that they're fucking delirious because they, people say, well, you're a cover band now because Ace and Peter aren't in the band anymore.
Right.
And they said, not only is it still Kiss because we're known as characters. We're known as Star Child, Spaceman, Demon, and
See, that makes
Cat.
sense. I can get behind that.
So they're a brand, okay?
Yeah,
It's more of the band, the characters are bigger than who's playing them.
Right.
And so they went on to say that Kiss can continue on even without Gene and Paul in it.
Yeah.
And they plan on doing this.
My goodness, man.
Paul Stanley said he looks forward to the day that he hires the person that replaces him in Kiss.
That is a retirement plan and a half.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say, man.
That's a sinking ship.
I'm telling you,
dude.
that band already exists. It's called Strutter. It's a Kiss tribute band.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time wanting to buy tickets to the tour that they're on now.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, they're going to play the songs great because Eric Singer's a great drummer,
Absolutely.
and obviously Tommy Thayer is a great guitar player.
Right.
And I had to debate this in my head and decide, do I want to hear the songs played well or do I want to hear the songs butchered by the original members?
Right, but if they're all up there wearing makeup and you can't even tell who they are, then it doesn't matter as much. You could sit there, like if you were high enough, you could pretend that you're looking at the band and you could pretend that it was 1978.
I tried that one time with a Kiss tribute band.
And
I was
worked.
Like,
it worked.
It didn't because their Paul Stanley was like a 5'2" Mexican guy.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, come on,
That
man.
doesn't work. That doesn't work. You would have to have somebody who at least has the body type.
Right,
Which,
right.
I'm going to go see Alice in Chains. They're coming to the Adler Theater, and no Lane Staley. And, even though Lane Staley is probably one of my favorite vocalists of all time, they put out the album Black Gives Way to Blue, and they put out another one after that I haven't really listened to. But, man, I thought it was terrific. Like, the songs were really well written, and the guy that they got doing the parts, he's a really great guitar player, and he's a really great singer, and he has his own voice, and it's a different sound. But if he wants to, when they're doing harmonies and shit like that, like, he can sound exactly dead nuts on, just like the old harmonies did, And so it still sounds like Alice in Chains, but it's like a new phase of Alice in Chains.
They have a free ticket, though, because Lane Staley is dead.
And he killed himself in a heinous way, so some of us are pissed off about the way that he did that.
Are you sure he killed himself?
Well, it was a battle of attrition. He killed himself
with heroin,
slowly, and crack cocaine. So he was doing both at the same time, and he had literally lost control of all of his bodily functions. And he was turning black, man. The dude was, the dude was atrophying. He had necrosis in his arms and fingers, and it was a bad deal. And why should he get to do that and destroy the band? You know what I mean? When the band was great, the songs were great, and some of that musical intention is still there.
You know, I get it, because when I was reading the Paul Stanley book, he was talking about, of course, this is from Paul Stanley's point of view, one of the founding members and the clean guys in the band. But he said throughout time, the band was good, and they went through their magical period there through the 70s, and they got really huge. And then after the huge thing happened, a couple of the members started doing a lot of drugs and being drunks and became belligerent, basically. Started treating staff rudely and having to have specific things in their hotel room, like, when Peter Criss wanted to show up to his hotel room, he wanted aluminum foil over certain windows and had to have a projector or some shit, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And then if he didn't have it, he'd throw a fit, and
Right.
I'm not doing it. I'm not playing, and all that shit. So I get it. When you're in a band that's been playing for 40 years, even if at your job, you couldn't work with an asshole very long, you know what I mean? You'd have to make some changes. But the way when I ended the book, I realized that I kind of agree with Paul Stanley, because neither of these guys are employable, really.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, they barely can play their instruments anymore, and nothing against Ace. He was my favorite guitar player coming up.
But the last time I saw him, he was washed up.
Oh, yeah.
Capital
Bad.
W, capital U. I mean, washed up, dude. He could barely operate that instrument, and it was sad, man. I was like, dude.
Yeah, and Paul Stanley had to stand out there and watch that happen every night and drag Kiss's name through the mud for the reunion thing.
Right. Yep.
And it just got really bad. And Peter Criss had to relearn how to play drums.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, I kind of get it. You can't have guys that threaten to quit every other day, and you're always like having to put out fires every gig. Every town you get to, it's always late for the show, always too drunk, they're on pills, and whatever. And after a while, you have to go, look, I want to continue doing this. Let's just get new dudes.
Yeah, I don't want to babysit anymore.
Let's get some people who are competent and confident and know how to live life without being a complete
have you ever
disaster.
had to work with somebody and be in a band with somebody or anything like that they were kind of really hard to get along with, and you just were like, fuck, I'm going to be stuck with these assholes?
Right. Well, and I think as far as, because we've had a lot of, especially with Chains coming here and stuff, like, we've had a lot of discussions about, if this band can really call themselves that anymore and blah blah blah, but it's almost really a case by case basis, like what is the reason that things are different now,
right?
And I mean, in a situation like that for Kiss, like, I wouldn't want to work with them either, but at the same time, I'm not just going to throw everything away, especially as much as they had built at that point, because a couple of these, a couple guys don't want to get with the program, or too concerned with themselves than as to keep what they've put together going, and growing and still writing good music and everything else. They'd rather do drugs or whatever. I mean, if that's
of course
more important to them.
From the outside looking in, and Kiss already existed when I was born,
Sure.
So I'm looking at Ace and Peter and being like, how do you fucking quit that? You know what I mean? It's like breaking up with Jenna Jameson. All right, that's not like that.
Well, unfortunately, as fans, we don't necessarily know all these things until later,
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. They're like, how come they just don't get back together, man?
Right.
Why don't they just do it for the fans?
Really, you can't think of any reasons? I can think of like 25 fucking reasons right now why they shouldn't get back together.
Right.
In fact, I think there's some bands out there right now that ought to fucking break up.
Yeah, no doubt.
Give me one.
Tool. I think Tool ought to break up, man. Not because they're not great guys, not because they're not great musicians, not because they couldn't put out 25 more albums, because they could, but it would just describe everything that's amazing about their phenomenon if they, would have broken up already, sort of at the height of their deal.
Right.
That seems like that's the way they should have gone out, man. We should have been left wanting. We should have been left wanting more Tool, but instead they kept cranking out albums that really kind of sounded just like the other albums that they had. You know what I mean?
They've kind of become a one-trick pony.
Pretty
That's
much,
what I always
man.
say about them.
Pretty much, man.
It's a really cool trick.
It's a phenomenal
but
fucking trick, dude.
It's still one trick. You're not really,
No, see, because
giving us anything.
The bass tone gets better and better on every album. That's what I keep listening to their albums, thinking to myself, okay, what are they gonna do with the bass guitar this time? And I'm like, the fucking bass guitar kills on this album. How can it be better than the last album? But it is.
What's in your CD player right now?
Trying to think of what the last thing I put in there. Deftones, I believe, their new one, Koi no Yoku no Deftones.
So is that your shit? That's your jams?
You know, it's definitely up there. It's definitely up there. No, actually, my favorite band in the world, I'm going to get made fun of now, I'm sure, but some people know this anyway. It's Total Wet Sprocket.
Good, yeah, that's right. I actually did know that. I did know that.
See, when you said that, I noticed a little bit of like shit. You kind of want to not say that, but you're kind of proud of it.
It's more because people are like, what? You know, they're always that nobody remembers.
Is that the band that did Meeting You Behind the Boathouse?
No. You're thinking of the Toadies. Toe the Wet Sprocket is
completely different.
Walk
on the Ocean was the big one. Yeah.
Step on the stone.
Yeah, I don't
Flesh
like
becomes water, wood becomes bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I love that song, man.
It's what power pop, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I'd say that, man.
Yeah.
So what's in your CD player, Travis?
Right now, I've got...
Make something up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't actually own any CDs, so that's the big problem.
You got a record player on your dashboard?
I do. I carry vinyl, and these new modern anti-skip mechanisms just don't work worth a fuck. I hit a decent pothole, and shit, I'm on track now.
It's over.
I guess the last thing that I had in there was Martin Sexton, Black Sheep.
What a fucking super talented guy.
He really is, man. He's terrific. But I didn't put it there. I mostly listen to the radio. And the stations I've been listening to lately have been the pop mix stations. The stations that'll play, hits from every decade, just because I've been listening mostly for production value. And to be able to listen to all these different types of eras of pop music all strung together as if they make sense together, it's like you can really discern these major differences between eras of production, how things were recorded, what instruments were involved, what frequencies were being pushed, which frequencies were being cut. Like to be able to listen to that, what kinds of orchestration, all of that kind of stuff, I find it to be just fascinating. Even though the songs themselves, from maybe the lyrical standpoint or from the complication of the chords that are in it, maybe the song only has like one chord in it and it's a 4 on the floor drum beat, boosh, 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 right? Like all night long. The stuff that happens in there, if you can take your mind off of that and sort of subtract that from your awareness and just listen to what, like, say the mix engineer did, pushing levels, pulling levels, making edits, doing things with cuts, I just find it to be riveting. It's dramatic. I love it. So that's where I'm at right now.
Anyway, so what's in your CD player, Jeff?
I have a 6 CD changer in my truck.
Ooh,
but what's your jams right now? What's your jam right now?
A couple of things that I'm listening to. I got Seasons in the Abyss from
Oh
Slayer.
yeah, great album.
I got the first Babylon AD and a mix of The Cult.
Wow.
See?
The Cult, huh?
Yeah.
Which The Cult is one of those bands that were huge everywhere else but in the United States, but they were pretty big here.
Yeah.
Like
They got
The
some
Cult.
really good stuff.
I know they do, man.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, right. Right. The Cult, totally. Yeah, exactly.
I remember those guys.
What's that song?
Am I mistaken? I think I saw them at Cedar Rapids or somewhere, and the singer had a black eye.
Oh.
Whoa.
And him and the drummer got in a fist fight before the show.
Dude.
That's awesome shit.
Yeah. Ian Ashbury's awesome.
Shake,
Yeah. How about you? What are you listening to?
Are we talking about like major label stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Or even mediocre stuff that's kind of coming into
whatever,
the
what's
musical vernacular?
There it is.
There's the power word. Let me say it into my special camera. Vernacular. So,
I didn't steal your thunder this episode.
Yeah, for you,
fucked you on that.
For those
last
of you
one.
that just listened to the episode, we have like 3 camera views now, and one of them is just on me.
We are hitting
my
the big
special.
time.
It's my special
Brian has hit the big time.
ego camera view.
Ego cam. You should have that flashing on the screen anytime it's on. Ego cam. Ego cam.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
What we've been listening to a lot in the Trailblazer with the kids, and because the kids have to get used to it too, is 12-Foot Ninja and 1152 are actually being played quite a bit in the car.
12-Foot Ninja, man. That's like Mr. Bungle meets Meshuggah. It's like cartoon metal music. The stuff that I heard. It's got shades. It's got shades of all these different genres all built in, but then when it does metal, it's just like this ridiculous gent metal, And if you're not familiar with the term, it's spelled D-J-E-N-T. Gent. That term was coined by the guitar player from the band Meshuggah to try to describe what he thought was the ideal guitar tone for the type of music. It's just like gent, 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 gent. So there are all these bands called gent bands that all have that guitar sound. Animals as Leaders probably being the one that's kind of like the biggest one, which I know Billy's super big on him. Tosin Abasi is the guitar player. Periphery.
I'm trying to think of some other ones.
Well, I'm going to start a new one. It's going to be
Glass Cloud's a big one.
Joink, joink,
Glass
joink.
Cloud.
Glass Cloud.
Yeah.
Joink, joink, joink.
Joink, joink, joink. What are you, Shaggy from Scooby Doo?
Joink,
Oh,
joink.
and no, that's Zoink. That's Zoink's metal. Zoinks, zoinks.
Zoink,
Like, hey,
zoink,
come on, Scoob. Like a pepperoni pizza, be a groove. But like there's all these gent bands, and
They generally play like 7 and 8 strings too.
big like low strung
Yeah,
guitars.
Really low.
Kick the
and-
bass player out of the band.
I was very
Really?
old school for a long time, and I saw the 7-string guitars coming out, and I just thought that was such slap in the face of the guitar. It was just against everything that I believed in. I believed that all music in rock and roll genre should have been made with a 6-string, period. That's what the game is. Here's what you got. You got 6 strings. Do what you can do.
Right, but here's the problem with that is then when you go out and see a metal band, then you'll notice that all the songs are in the same key until they switch guitars.
Right.
Because that's
Right.
the way it would go down. So, if you get the 7-string in there or the 8-string in there, at least makes it so that they have some room to keep going lower, unless they're going to play all the way low the whole night.
Which
But
some of them do, and it gets a little ridiculous.
it does get a little
Right.
bit ridiculous, and then there are bands that tune even lower than that, like Floor, if you've ever listened to Floor.
But they make it work. I
Yeah,
love
Floor does make it work.
Floor's awesome.
Floor is one of those bands that you think, man, this band is tuned down super low, and you'll listen to the song halfway through, and then they'll hit a note that's even lower than the one they were playing, and you're like, oh, they were saving that note. Holy crap.
You see,
That's
when
insane.
I was recording back in the day, it was hard to get
here we
even
go.
when people had a low beat, because the bass players would usually be the first to get like a 6-string bass.
Right, because they
And
get a B, right.
Yeah, it had a low B on there. And I remember we had a hard time recording that frequency because it wasn't in our chart of frequencies that are normally recorded on a rock record. So when it hit that low B, it was almost inaudible.
Sure, right.
So they figured it out now how to, bring them tones up.
You know what, though? There's something else to that. And this is something that I noticed after working at Music Go Round for however many odd years, was that most 5-string and 6-string basses, compared to the rest of the strings, the low B string sounds like shit. It's all weak and nasty. The basses themselves, even though they added another string or whatever, they weren't really constructed in order to ring that string properly until they started changing the scale lengths, changing the way the bridges were built,
That's what it was.
changing the way that the pickups were made.
Do you ever notice when
it gives you a little more response?
Do you ever notice when dudes are doing air guitar in a bar and they're drunk?
Yeah.
That they always think the high notes are way up here.
Yeah, right. They're always like,
Yeah. They're like,
yeah. Because what the fuck? Because higher notes. I'm like,
tune that
No,
thing,
it's the
man.
whole thing with like how higher notes. Dude, it was a left-handed guitar. They flipped it upside down,
right,
man.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
no.
And they do this with their fingers, like
Yeah,
they're doing
right.
notes with this hand.
Right,
you know what I mean?
dude. What are
Why
you?
is it-
What are you, James Taylor?
Every
What the
guitar
fuck is
player is
that?
doing this.
It's like,
You
what
know
are you
what
doing? You fucking tickling somebody's balls? It's your problem. Well, if you are, that's not the way you do it. It's like this.
Right.
This is the proper ball tickling technique.
Anyway, I just happened to notice that. I was watching this drunk guy at a bar one time, air guitar and all the songs. I'm like, oh, he's got it completely backwards.
got it backwards, yeah.
But I've seen that more times, more
yeah.
than once. Where
It
you
is
ever
the
wanna
whole
go
thing with
correct him?
like no, like
No,
this,
like this.
right?
If you're
Yeah, I'm
gonna
an
do
air
it.
guitar teacher now, and I take air money. What the fuck? So,
Air money.
So like,
I owe you some air money, by the way.
you probably do, but it's this whole thing of higher notes are further away from the floor
Right.
because low is toward the floor.
I think,
higher,
I think they put their hand higher.
And
yeah,
the same
like-
with the same with the strings. It's like, now do I hit this high string? It's like, well, I guess that is the string that's furthest away from the floor. However, when we talk about guitars in terms of music, we want to discuss it in terms of the notes. So if you're talking about higher notes, yes, it's the string that's closer to the floor.
Yeah.
Unless you're, Dick Dale. unless you're some guitar player that just flipped it over.
I knew I was not cut out to be a good guitar player when they numbered the strings backwards. You know,
Right.
String 1 is the high E.
Every metalhead knows that string 1 is the low E. That's right.
Like if you're talking to your buddies in the band, you're like, "What chord are you playing?" The big string. Yeah.
Yeah, big string. Right. Now, what about strings versus chords versus cables? You ever get into that shit with anybody? Where they call the string a chord, and it's no, that's not a chord.
Should I hit this chord?
All right,
like,
right.
That's a string.
Or they go to plug their cable into their instrument, man. Oh man, my chord ain't working. It's like, well, no, that's your cable. All right. Chord is when you play more than one note and at the same time, more than two notes at the same time. Right. Otherwise, it's just an interval. But
explain this to me.
Okay.
Mr. Travis Williams. Explain this to me.
Pinky's out.
Define what is the difference between a strummed chord and an arpeggiated chord?
An arpeggiated chord strives to make it so that you're only ever hearing one note at a time. A strummed chord allows the notes to ring together, whereas an arpeggiated chord is where you're striving to mute the notes as they go. Now, the thing that can get a little bit dicey about that is that if you decide to play the notes out of order, instead of strumming through the strings, but instead you just pick the notes, then as long as the notes are being rung out of order, you can still consider it arpeggiated, even though they're still ringing out together, just because you're not just playing them from lowest to highest.
There you go. You guys can send some air money to Minor Disturbance Radio.
That is your lesson for today.
But yeah, so like if somebody says, "Oh, go back to the arpeggio," like I've been working with Mr. Joel Rose, and he is filling in the blanks, trying to make it so that there's a more full sound. And one of the things that he'll do is, when I'm playing chords, is he'll then pick the notes out of order while holding the chord, and I'll refer to that as the arpeggio, because even though he's not playing one note at a time, he's still ringing the notes of the chord out of order. So it sounds like it still gives you the impression that you're hearing the individual notes in the chord more strongly. So,
okay.
So there you go.
All right. Cool.
That was totally boring. Sorry. I'd like to apologize for everybody.
It's my fault. I asked the question.
Yeah, he set you up.
You did, man.
I was just hoping you'd say something like, the arpeggio is way cooler, dude, because like a chord
get you laid and stuff.
Like one of them you have to sing like Poison songs to, and like the other ones you have to flip your hair to the side and go on one knee to do.
Right. See, now I think that might be an arpeggio on some other level. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, so
that's the simple way to explain.
That's the simpler way. That's the simpler way.
So, do you have any gigs coming up?
Next Friday we're playing. They're having the Night of Champions thing down at the.
That's something I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah,
this Night of Champions.
Yes.
Oh. Who's on the bill?
It is us and 9th Street Memory and 1152, and we've all been winners of the Ribco Battle of the Bands.
Ribco. Okay, I was wondering, because I don't pay attention to every single Battle of the Bands that happens. As a matter of fact, I kind of am turned off by Battle of the Bands.
I'm not a big fan of them either.
Yeah. So if I'm in them, I don't like them. I'd love to be a judge of them. Absolutely. But
that's just because you like to be mean.
No,
you just like to be mean.
No.
He's
just like mean.
He's
things.
just thorough. Thorough.
He likes to judge.
Yeah, AKA mean.
Well,
that's right, dude.
I was in a band.
Thorough rectal exam. Mean.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I was in a band that won 2 of them. We paid a lot of money, but we did win 2 of them, so I know what it takes.
Air money.
Air money.
Air money.
Air money.
You gotta steal my line, motherfucker.
You're welcome.
Am I that predictable now?
Yeah.
Anyway, because you played in the Battle of the Bands with my band,
right?
Drop Hammer,
right?
And by the way, you guys did a great job. I don't think that there was anything anybody could have done to keep Drop Hammer from winning that, though.
No. I mean, it was absolutely the perfect situation
for us.
Yeah.
And I, going into it, I was like, man, what do we even have to go through all this? Because you guys absolutely would deserve the exposure more than a band that hadn't had a record out in eons. And I really just wanted to say that to you, that I felt really bad about that, because it's not that we were a better band or not. I think it was probably already a favorite going in for some people. I don't know who the judges were. I don't even know if they had any idea what they were like. That long-haired guy's got the long-haired guy's got to play with the '80s thing, man. So
yeah, for the bill that it was the perfect situation for you. So
yeah,
we were totally cool with it. We were just happy to play. And like when we did the Ribco battle that we won, it was within the first year we were together, and we mainly did it just for the exposure. You know,
Sure.
like, hey, we're just starting out. Like, this is a cool opportunity to play in front of a crap ton of people. You know, and we weren't going into it thinking we were going to win. You know.
Well, I don't want to sound ungrateful for the thing because I absolutely, I feel like we deserved it, kind of, but I hate battling with bands that are working bands right now that are trying to get a product out, trying to get exposure.
Sure.
And my band hadn't had a record out in years, and we wanted that gig.
It's never right though.
And to get that gig, we had to go through them channels and risk being beat too.
Right,
you know what I
right,
mean?
sure.
So,
Right, yeah.
Sure.
No, I was going to say it's never quite right though, because whenever you have that kind of a situation where you've taken something that that really can't be proven to be better or worse than something else, or more or less appropriate than something else, it creates this artificial hierarchy, you know, where somebody stands above and somebody stands below, at least in the terms of the contest. So then it's up to us to try to rationalize how it doesn't really matter.
Right,
And like
right.
it's fine that it isn't fair and it's just cool and that we
Yeah.
got to hang out, dude.
But
and
the-
we were
yeah.
whatever.
On the other
But you
side-
know, I just don't like it because it stands in contrast to what the contest says, which is this band was the best and the rest of you weren't as good.
But on the
Yeah.
other side,
You know?
going
I
to
don't
see
like
it,
that.
you see bands challenging and they bring their best for that 20 minutes or
Sure.
half an hour. So as going to see a band, you get a great show from 3, 4, whatever different bands.
Sure.
So
Where
it's like
people's
they're
hunger
nailing
kind
it
of comes
'cause they
into
want
it.
it.
Yeah, right.
But really, are you? Because a lot of times when the Battle of the Bands thing is going on, you got band after band after band. The change are so quick, and the bands are throwing up, taking off, throwing up. You don't even get a
Yeah.
chance to really get into the moment.
Yeah.
You know.
And the really good bands, as far as I'm concerned, I would think that they're going to bring it every night. They're not going to, they're not going to be like extra special on because it's a contest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that they would want to.
You don't think the adrenaline gets going, the urgency gets more?
I don't. Possibly, but if it does, I would think of it as being less of something positive that you could say about the people in the band, and more of something that I think is almost sort of defective about the logic of it, because, and it's true, nobody likes the sting of defeat, but at the same time, I've often thought that the purpose of art, unlike, let's say, manufacturing, which has to be inspected and all this sort of stuff for, quality and whatnot, that unlike regular manufacturing, the thing about art is the purpose of doing it is to do it as well as you can, always. That is the point of it.
Right.
That's
Well,
the point of it, to do the best thing you're
It's no
capable
different than a
of.
baseball player going up. How many times you go to bat?
Sure.
You come up at the bottom of the ninth, base runner's on. You know the stage is set.
Yeah. If
So that's what I'm saying. You want to excel at that moment.
Well, you do want to. You might feel the urgency to excel in that moment, but at the same time, your drive to excel in every moment is maybe going to propel you to, some kind of iconic greatness at that moment. But that has less to do with what your motives are and more to do with all these externalities, all these things that are external to that situation, the things that are on the outside, as observers, which I appreciate your view because,
Right.
I mean, it is the outside looking in view. But just inside that threshold really is just everybody who's doing art, I think in general, is trying to do the best thing they can do all the time. You don't set out to paint a painting and be like, well, I'm going to paint, I guess. You know what I mean? That's not the, you know what I mean? That's just not the way it works,
Right.
man. You're trying to get something to happen. And so you don't, you are always striving. You're
So
always striving.
every time you guys have played a show, you've never went up there like, work sucked today, blah blah blah.
Not
just
an
kinda
original. I can tell you, not an original
mail
band
it
show.
in a little bit?
Not an original band
just
show.
not up to it, or-
unless I was playing out with this original band all the time in the same situation, and there's nobody there. Maybe that might cause me to be like, well, this doesn't matter, and
Okay,
blah blah blah.
That's what I was going to say. Imagine you're 300 shows into your
Yeah.
first platinum selling record, and you've got this one song that you really didn't like, but it became the hit on the record.
Right.
And now everybody's getting a big head, and the drummer wants 4 bottles of Cristal in his dressing
Yep.
room, and he's bitching at you because there's only 3 this time. And and your wife's kind of like, when are you coming off the road? Are you fucking around on me? All that shit's going on.
She doesn't know you're gay.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you and the bass player are making out. And and then pretty soon you just kind of like are going through the motions.
Yep, you're up there going, Mama, we're all crazy now.
All of a sudden it's not fun anymore, is it?
Mama, we're all crazy.
I mean, this thing that we strive after to do for a living, to do every day, could you really imagine doing it every day?
I'd like to think so.
The energy that you have to pour out, the emotion that you have to actually, because I can tell when a band's feeling it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I can tell when they're just kind of phoning it in.
Sure.
Well, it's one of those things like when, people talk about winning the lottery or whatever, and, it's like, well, I'd surely like to see what it's like, and I mean, it is kind of that way. I mean, I don't know how I'd react in that situation because I haven't been there, but I'd like to think that I would still bring it the way I do now,
Yeah.
Especially since it's, it's one of those things I've been playing in bars since I was 14, when I really shouldn't have been.
Wow.
And and even back then doing, mainly covers and stuff, whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, it was still, I was hungry for this thing. It was like new, and then when you're doing original music, to me, it's the same way. I mean, you're trying to see how those new people are going to react to it.
Sure.
Even more so than the people that always come see you. It's like, I like being able to see people in the crowd that haven't really heard us before and get into it.
Sure. And let's face it too, that as far as I'm concerned, to carry out my metaphor of the painter, not all of the paintings are great paintings. Even though you're striving to do your best,
yeah,
there
sure.
are all of these factors that really do affect it. And I mean, and that might lend some credence to your argument about, whether or not Battle of the Bands influence people to do things. But I'm saying that non-specifically, it's a crapshoot as to whether it actually will or not, and whether it'll give you something different than what you might have seen some other night, some other place with some other crowd under some other conditions.
And I'm calling BS on that painting. You ever see that dude on Channel 12, Bob? His paintings
Bob
are
Ross,
awesome.
man.
Bob Ross is the
He
best,
nails
dude.
it every time.
Every time,
that
dude.
live here.
And then when you try to
you're not
do
doing
that,
it right.
it never turns out that
You're not
good.
doing it
Never.
right. See, the thing you got to do is you got to get up in the mic and you have to talk at just like a really low level, about like this. And what you do is
They have to be really happy too, though.
You can put it. No, I'm getting there. But you gotta establish a baseline. So when you're talking to the microphone, you come up here and you put in a happy little tree right here, and you can do whatever you want. You can have whatever you want.
Have fun with it.
That's the beauty of this. Is
If you want to have a broken tree live right here, that's
right.
fine.
That's fine. You can put it right.
If you want to put some dead bodies over here,
yep, that's perfect. That's it. Just make sure that you use the right colors.
oh
to make
look,
it
I
look.
made a tree with a strap on it.
Exactly. Now, necrotic flesh has a certain kind of tone to it. Jesus Christ.
Either way, man, this thing that we're all that we've all been after. See, this is the thing, the camaraderie that I see. I don't even know you personally,
right?
But I know that you're in this game, so you're a friend of mine because. I'm telling you, I've been after that same thing. I've been through that ride. I've been on the ride. Travis has been on the ride. He's been in the audience, and Jeff's never been in a band per se. Well, I think he tried to. Him and his friends took a picture in their bedroom one time, posing like this, and then they called it something and went to the mall and stood there like, "This ain't working out. I quit the band, man." It's like, so.
I'm going solo.
But the whole but the whole beautiful thing about this is, man. And I don't want to sound all smushy or anything, but the gift of being able to create music and the way that it affects us and the outlet we have to write music. Because when I write a song and I'm done with it, I feel absolutely satisfied. Even if it's not the best song, I can sit back and go, I made that song.
Yeah.
Something in me said them words that I couldn't have said if I were sitting here talking to you now. But in the way it just kind of comes out that way.
Sure. Plus, it has a beginning, middle, and end, man. You know that you have something that's complete. That simple creative act right there is something that is just deeply sacred. I mean, that's really like you feel plugged in when that happens.
Like when you write a song,
like you're connected.
You look back at it. Do you get the same feeling as you do when you go back and listen to a song that Kiss wrote that it affected you, or somebody else that you like?
No, because I wasn't there for the inner workings or the making of their songs.
Right.
So I get to make an imaginary vacation scenario. You know how when you hear a song, you immediately like put a background to it, or a time, or even a smell, or something that's tied to that song forever.
Right.
And it don't matter when you hear it. it brings you right there. Boom, you're in that memory. You've got that scene or that spot. For me, sometimes it's places like my old schoolyard. If I hear a certain song, I'll think of my old schoolyard, being out playing recess. I don't know why, but every time it comes on, that area, boom, it's back to me somehow. Music is a powerful, powerful time machine, and I don't know anything better. Smell does that sometimes, but. But music is such a powerful thing that way, and all these scenes come up in my head when I hear music. So when I'm hearing a Kiss song, I'm the scene that I'm seeing when I hear Kiss songs is Kiss. And imagining as a kid looking at superheroes, I thought they walked around like that all day.
Yeah, you thought lasers really did come out of their eyes. Or
I thought that they just kind of flew there like Superman, and showed up to the gig. I didn't know. I was 7.
For sure.
So I immediately become that naive kid that knows nothing about the rock and roll business. Knows nothing about recording. I just thought it was like,
that's a good place to be, man.
It just was, Kiss was just happened. All they did was like, we're Kiss. And it just happened,
right,
and somebody happened to be there to record it when it happened, and I'm like, oh my god,
yeah.
And then 40 years later, when you see the nuts and bolts and
that's what I mean.
and everything about it, it loses its luster in a way.
It does, but I mean that's the thing about having that feeling is that it allows you to transport yourself back to the moment where sounds that you were hearing coming out, the musical sounds, aren't all these elements that you can individually analyze and reassemble and reconstruct. Your mode of deconstruction was not there yet. You couldn't deconstruct music. So as a result, then you heard music almost as if it were like a single sheet of sound.
Let me elaborate on that. I thought about something between podcasts, and I wanted to explain what that is. You know how drug sniffing dogs, how they can tell if you have pot in your gas tank or if you put it in coffee or try to hide it from dogs, how they can still smell it? It's because a dog's nose or the way it smells separate smells. When it smells your car, it smells the steel, the gas, the pot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
All of it separately.
Right.
So, it would smell a cheeseburger and it'd smell tomatoes, meat, bun, ketchup, mustard. It'd smell all these different things. You and I, we smell a cheeseburger. We smell pizza.
That's right. It's one thing, yeah.
Right.
We can't smell the mushrooms on it. You know what I mean? Or anything like that. But a drug-sniffing dog can. So, in a way, we're kind of drug-sniffing dogs when we hear music.
Sure.
We're not hearing it for the cheeseburger. We're smelling them onions, man. Them are minced. I don't like them like that.
No, I always knew I had a little bit of Mississippi Leghound in me.
I watched this old DEA agent or whatever. He had this YouTube clip and he was telling you how to hide your pot. How not to get busted transporting pot from state to state.
That's
and
hilarious.
Here's what works, here's what don't work. Make sure you put it in the middle of your car. Make sure it's not on the outside of the car. Make sure that it's all these different things, and don't what not to say when you get pulled over. That.
Yeah, right.
I got pulled over one time, and the fucking cop asked me if I had. I swear to God, he asked me if I had any guns, grenades, or any missile launchers.
RPGs.
He did.
Yeah.
Because I was like, did he just ask me if I have any missile launchers? Like in my Subaru Brat?
Just got rid of that
know what? You got me now. Hold on. Let me press the button here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened.
I've got a foot lever that engages the missile pack.
I knew it. I knew you had that.
Yeah. Stand back, officer. This is going to be big.
Is that weird? Is that something they have to ask now? I'd like to know.
I don't think so.
Do you have any weapons of mass destruction in there?
Yeah, right.
He was probably just bored.
Yeah,
Decided to mix it up a little bit.
Totally, man. It's fucking Super Troopers, man.
Yeah.
I have some musicians of super washed upness.
Yeah, right.
Here's my Tora tape.
Yes. I got tapes. That's all you got to say. I got tapes, man. I got fucking tapes.
But anyway, man, that's what Minor Disturbance Radio is all about. This is the camaraderie of enjoying music and then musicians. And I don't know what the audience is, if they're mostly just music listeners or if they're musicians themselves. I wanted to let everybody know that I'm actually really excited. I'm really proud of the Minor Disturbance thing and how it's been going. I didn't expect when Jeff and I started talking into mics and cameras about music and shit that we'd either A, still be doing it, or B, anybody would listen to it.
Well, how long has it been? Has it been a year?
Just a little over a year.
Yeah,
No
a little
shit,
over
man.
a year.
Wow. Congratulations,
we
man.
were excited.
So,
Happy anniversary.
We were excited. Like we seen 100. We're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
100 views on one,
Yeah.
The first episode, we're sitting next to each other just like this. And we're like, I had a laugh track and everything. We talked about that. But 17 episodes in, and I got to be honest. Humility and being humble is great, but sometimes it gets the better of me because I really am kind of a attention person that I got to know that I'm doing.
Strumpet. Attention strumpet.
I need validation just like anybody else, And I got to admit, when you go to your Facebook, you immediately look up there for the red notification. Who's saying something to me? Who's saying something? Ooh, I got something in my inbox. Somebody said something.
Or how about, oh man, I said some amazing shit to this person. They didn't even say nothing. They didn't even like it.
Not one comment.
Didn't even like it.
Damn it.
Right. You put something up and then like 2 likes, it takes you 2 weeks to have 2 people like it, and it's just because they accidentally hit the like button when they're trying to scroll, It's like, but I go right for the notifications. And I just want people to know that, hey, I love the feedback. If you like this show, say something, comment on it, because there's a lot of people that watch it that won't fess up to it.
No.
What?
Yeah, because we get
the YouTube stuff. No, people aren't commenting.
We average about 1,000 views a month.
Really?
Absolutely.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, YouTube's a crazy creature where you can actually track, how many people are watching your shit.
And where they're from and
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
Minor Disturbance Radio has been seen by every state in the United States.
Wow.
Has clicked on the episodes. And I'm not saying that each state has like 500 people that do it, but
Right.
like 1 or 2 in like New York or something.
Not yet,
Right.
anyway.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And there's that one fucking loser that nobody likes in Hawaii. You know who you are. Mahalo for watching the show.
But anyway, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I guess what I'm doing is I'm sharing this with everybody because, you're not alone. If you're watching this and you enjoy what you're watching, say something to us. Comments. Do what you got to do because I feed off of that. And
Absolutely.
When you say kind words about the show and you walk up to me in public and you say that you like the show, I really enjoy that. It makes me feel really good. I might not know how to react to it just because I feel like this is something we do and we put out, and then I just kind of go back to my loser life, which is nothing I've ever done in my life has really been that successful. So for me to expect this to be successful, it's a crapshoot. So,
yeah, right.
But man, people actually watch this thing, and I really appreciate that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, I really appreciate the fact that you take the time to watch this podcast. I hope it's entertaining for you. So keep watching, say some shit, comment, tell us what you want to hear us talk about, and all that shit. So, before we go though, I wanted to remind everybody not to take themselves too seriously.
That's right.
Don't take yourself too seriously, because after all, we do live in a world where if you're, you're married to a woman and she decides she wants to split, well, you're going to end up having to pay her alimony. That's right. You got to maintain her way of life. Then why is it that she don't have to come over to my house and do my laundry and suck my dick twice a week? Minor Disturbance Radio, episode 17. We'll see you next time.
You're fucking killing me, Brian. What the fuck? That's some fucking outlandish shit, dude.
That was good.
Yeah. I'll take things I'd never say in public.
Oh, it's double jeopardy.
Oh, wrong.
As you can see, my wife wrote loser after that. Loser.
Nice.